A brand new season, 4 new card releases, an OTA update, and the sweetest deck list that made deep runs in the Golden Gauntlet World Championships for Marvel Snap. Let's go ahead and get on into the best decks to kick things off right now. Our newest season pass card, the Spider Punk, is finding a home inside of traditional move decks. While it is able to move itself a single time, it also gets to trigger additional times when it gets moved around the board by other things, letting it steal 2 power each time it does, making it a stellar payoff in this traditional move shell. There are also a variety of other cores using Spider Punk, such as this one, that are a little bit less dedicated on the move payoffs, but we have some synergies here, such as Batroc, Craven, and Hydra Stomper. At its core, this deck list is utilizing Spider Punk as a generically good stat stick, i.e., a 3/7, in tandem with a variety of disruptive elements, Red Guardian, Mobius, and Mercury, allowing you to cover all of the big matchups that you want to have tech against. Our next new card release, finding a home in a few different places, is the Superior Spider-Man, giving you an extra energy each turn if you have anything on the board with increased power. By the numbers, approximately 3 enablers for this card, i.e., 1 and 2 energy plays that give you increased power. In the case of the sample deck list here, we have Zombie Mr. Fantastic, Agony, and the Hunger that can all make Superior Spider-Man start give you extra energy ASAP. In addition to the zombie sub theme that this deck has going on, with Scarlet Witch and Giant Man being your bigger payoffs, it's also a Wiccan deck at its core, and I really like this build around for Superior Spider-Man because he can provide either redundancy for the games where you're missing Wiccan, or even additional energy to let you go further over the top when all of your payoffs end up coming together for you. I think Absorbing Man is a wonderful card here. It can either give you an additional Wiccan trigger for massive energy on turn 6, it can double up a zombie Giant Man, or it can give you 2 Shang-Chis, breaking down your opponent's lanes in 2 different spots across the board. Another place Superior Spider-Man has been popping up at is inside of Silver Surfer Shells. This is an archetype that's always enjoyed playing 3 energy cards that give you additional energy, because having 6 energy on turn 5 allows you to deploy 2 3 drops then, and more importantly, having 5 energy on turn 4 means you can drop Sarah a turn sooner, letting you absolutely dominate the late game by playing out cards at an even cheaper rate. I also like that Superior Spider-Man and Luna inside of this core give you a little bit of resilience against opposing tech cards. In the games where your opponent Mobius is you can just lean into having extra energy as opposed to Sarah's cost reductions. As always, like I mentioned a second ago, you want to make sure you have at least 3 enablers for Superior Spider-Man. In this deck's case, we have Hunger, Forge, and Zombie Mr. Fantastic, with Zombie Mr. Fantastic also having clean synergy with Common Surfer cards like Brood, making those Broodlings a touch larger. If you're missing any of the 3 energy cards inside of this shell, you can swap them out for other things that Surfer can enable that give you tech in different matchups. And if you're missing a higher series card that's an enabler for Superior Spider-Man, you could play something like a copy of Angela or Medusa that are cheap things that give themselves additional power. Our third card release this week is the Man Spider, merging with the last card you played into itself, and then the additional text of whenever this merges, double up its power. The key thing to understand about Man Spider is that its doubling power on merge is separate from its on reveal. This means if we merge it with other effects like Agony or Hulkbuster or Symbiote Spider-Man, it's going to trigger that double up again. A very common play line with this deck is you'll go ahead and go Luna Snow on 3 after having played Agony on 1 or 2, and then you'll Man Spider merge in that Luna Snow, doubling up to 14 points, and then you'll have Agony merge into the Man Spider, kicking it up again to 34, which you can then Arnim Zola around the board or Taskmaster. When you add things like Hulkbuster, Absorbing Man, and Symbiote Spider-Man into the mix, it's possible for Man Spider to hit as big as triple digits, which if you check the link to my daily deck highlights in the video description down below, you'll find games with this build and another where we did that a few different times. One key interaction to be aware of with Man Spider and Arnim Zola is that generally speaking, you want to make sure you're always Arnim Zolaing Man Spider Spider immediately after you play it. If you play a different card in between Man Spider and Arnim Zola, your copied Man Spiders from the Zola are going to merge in that in-between card, which then causes your Man Spiders to eat each other, leaving you with only one massive spider from Zola, which can be fun and is occasionally good, but often when you're Zolaing, you want two big stats. Our high potential deck list this week come from the sweetest builds to make top 16 in the Golden Gauntlet World Championships that happened this weekend for Marvel Snap. This first one has a number of sweet innovations in it, including playing our 3/7 OTA Debris. While Debris no longer kicks up rocks for both players, this deck list has Viper to send her rock across the board, as well as Yellow Jacket to give it a penalty power, so a Nihilist can send it across as well. I also absolutely love the inclusion of Sam Wilson in this deck for a similar purpose. You can have Viper kick his shield across as a clog piece, or a Nihilist do so, giving them an indestructible -1 point of power in tandem with Yellow Jacket. Since we're using Yellow Jacket to make our 0 power things be negative anyways, this deck list is also leveraging Werewolf by Night, since Yellow Jacket is a free on reveal to bounce that around the board. Merlin kind of ties the whole room together for us, giving us a steady flow of on reveals to make Werewolf by Night jump, as well as being an additional means to get rid of things like Hood Bodies or Sentry's Void if a Nihilist is nowhere to be found. Last but certainly not least, we have Agamotto in tandem with King Eitri as an additional way to jump Werewolf all around and give us power output, or even clear those negative bodies with his 4 energy spell. Nightmare is one of those Marvel Snap cards that's always read as having an incredibly powerful effect, but has yet to find a home in a consistent top meta deck. These particular cards also finished top 16 in the Golden Gauntlet World Championship, benefiting from a number of Marvel Snap's recent buffs. Destroyer getting 2 extra points, Electro getting extra point himself, and obviously the deck's namesake going from -1 power previously up to 1. I like that this deck list has a backup plan for when its namesake is nowhere to be found, with War Machine allowing you to mitigate the downside of Infinite, just slamming it into play alongside Ebony Maw on the last turn of the game, so long as you have 7 points of energy. Blink also works really cleanly here, swapping out any of your 3s for bigger bombs at the top end of your curve. Just be careful if Destroyer's still in your deck, since that has potential to blow away your other lanes. The third deck list in the Golden Gauntlet top 16 that caught my eye was this all-in zombie giant man build featuring Mercury and Cannonball for a dash of disruption. Scarlet Witches and Giant Man's buff midway through last season definitely cemented them as a solid new archetype that seems incredibly competitive in Marvel Snap. I also absolutely love the inclusion of Spider-Ham in this deck list. I think he is a disruptive element that doesn't quite get enough credit. Wiping away the text on one of your opponent's key cards can often be enough to win the game on its own. Just remember, if you're looking to optimize your cubes, you should often be snapping before you activate this card for when it wins the game on the spot. Our last high potential deck list today, and the winner of the Golden Gauntlet World Championships for Marvel Snap, is this Cerebro 3 variation featuring the one and only M'Baku, who was buffed up to a 3rd point of power in our OTA this week. This archetype has a number of disruptive elements such as Cosmo and Rogue, as well as Luke Cage, who serves as a way to mitigate some detrimental location variants for this deck's namesake as well. You mix Bastion into the mix, and this deck list can have as many as 4 copies of Cerebro in play when the game is wrapping up, scaling all of your 3-point cards as high as 15 wherever they are at, which makes an absolutely massive M'Baku to jump out at the end of the game. As always, you can tweak and customize the details in this deck list based on card availability or the things you want to metagame against. My only comment being you should take care that the curve in this deck list stays low so you can consistently play points out to the board as opposed to just relying on disruptive elements. Moving along to our top performing category, we have deck lists that are tried and true in Marvel Snap, consistently putting up stellar results. Some of our best performers for the season kick off with the Pixie Ultron Annihilus amalgamation that I think is quite reasonable. This deck list is notably leveraging some of the better interactive cards you can be playing right now, such as Mobius, M. Mobius, and Shadow King, as well as a Valkyrie, who's a little bit less efficient than these other two, but she can occasionally have her cost shuffled low by Pixie, letting her be a massive blowout while also mitigating the downside of things like Hood and Sentry. Living Tribunal combo is consistently among the best performing deck lists for climbing back to infinite season in and season out. I think one of the biggest upsides to playing a deck like this is its snapping conditions are relatively straightforward. You can know relatively early deterministically when you have your full combo set up together, and then you can go ahead and push that button to scale yourself up in cubes to get your opponent committed before they see exactly what you have going on. This deck list really excels at playing against things like Move and other linear decks that aren't interacting with you that make smaller numbers, and this absolutely massive stats build will put out at the end of the game with its combo. The end of turn slash activate decks featuring Jocasta really feel like they've settled into a good spot in Marvel Snap after the last time they took a couple of paper cuts, notably dropping Invisible Woman down to 3 points of power. While their play rate is down, the power level and performance of those still playing with this archetype is consistently among the top performers. If you're looking for a deck list that puts out solid stats, it's also difficult to interact with because a lot of your scaling up happens at the end of the game. This is a stellar list for doing so still. Finally, while I'm putting a most popular tag on this lockout deck list because it has the highest play rate for most of the slices that I look at for data on Untapped, it's worth noting its play rate does not hit double digits in any of them, with it ending up being around 5% in most of them. This is a stat that most card games can only dream of hitting, where your most popular deck list individually is only 1 in 20 on average. That being said, I'm glad this deck list isn't more popular than that because it's relatively toxic. Storm into War Machine into Legion, locking your opponent out from playing the game is quite deterministic, and this is another deck list that's similar to Living Tribunal, benefits from snapping early and often when it's clear to you that you're going to have one of these deterministic lockout style draws. As always, if you want to see the sweetest of these deck lists in action, make sure you check the link to my daily deck uploads for Marvel Snap in the video description down below, where I'm posting different decks 7 days a week. I also live stream over there and on twitch.tv Monday through Friday, where I'll be testing out things, even the ones that aren't necessarily stellar, that don't quite make it into the highlights channel. As always, I appreciate everybody that made it all the way through to the end of today's video. I hope your start to the Spider-Punk season has been excellent. Be sure to let me know in the comments down below which deck lists you've been enjoying that I should consider checking out myself. Make sure you smash the like button on today's roundup if you enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend wherever you're at, gamers, and I hope your next snap pack is an excellent one.